Well, welcome to the third of 7 videos looking at how to scope a traditional project. And what we're going to do during this video is look at requirements, give you 2 definitions of requirements, look at 4 categories of requirements, and then from that look into a number of techniques for eliciting those requirements from a client. All right, let's start off with the definitions. Here's the first of 2 definitions. All right, this is a relatively simplistic definition, looking at, hey, a requirement is just something that the product or project has to do, or a quality that it has to have. Here's a more detailed one, and in this case we're tying a requirement back into business value and saying that the set of high level requirements form a necessary and sufficient set for attainment of that business value. As you might imagine, this is a little bit more aligned with conditions of satisfaction, and it's also easier to sell to executives and senior management when you start to talk about business value. That's a language that they speak. All right, let's look at the 4 categories of requirements. You have functional, non-functional, global, and then product or project constraints. All right. The functional is exactly what you would think it would mean. It's going to be what are the functions that this particular project has to provide. The non-functional are going to be properties of the project for the product to work. So, you know, the project's going to have a homemade appearance, or the project shall be packaged to be attractive to senior citizens. Those are examples of a non-functional requirement. We'll get into global requirements. These are at the absolute highest levels of the particular project, and you know, it may be something to the effect that this is going to run on our existing network. It's going to run on a Samsung and Apple device. Those kind of very high level requirements associated with a particular product. And then finally, you've got some constraints associated with a particular project. And these may be, you know, how much budget is associated with this, or response time associated with a particular application. All right, well, very good. Look at that. We're moving right along. We've already covered 2 definitions of requirements, and then finally 4 categories of requirements. We're now going to start moving into requirements gathering. How are we going to elicit those requirements from the customer? And in this case, we're going to walk through 5 different ways of actually doing this. Okay, so the first way is brainstorming. It's the idea that you're going to get in a room, all the rules don't apply for the most part, and you're just trying to take ideas, explore crazy ideas, get them all up on the board, and see if that stretches your thinking of the project. Now, there are lots of good advantages associated with brainstorming. It's going to allow you to start to form a team and get everybody involved. It does simulate people thinking outside the box and being creative in the project. You do run into challenges if the meeting becomes dominated by a strong individual, or if you have some other components of office politics going on in the room where individuals fear being criticized, and so they tend to shut down and everybody just stares at each other. And then that evaluation of ideas leads to judgment, and you want to defer on that till later in the process. But again, that is a risk associated with it. I've used brainstorming many times. Very good approach, I believe, to addressing project needs. All right, another one is a facilitated group session. And here you're going to bring in a facilitator, hopefully well-trained, and they're going to sit down and help facilitate folks talking about the project and eliciting what the requirements are of that project. Another very good approach, and I didn't mention this on the first slide, but I'll mention it right now. Typically, when you're doing requirements gathering, you're going to use more than one technique. You're not going to go in and just do brainstorming, but you'll do brainstorming and facilitated groups and interviews, and just use a number of techniques, not one, but a number of techniques to elicit what those requirements are. All right, so we've talked about brainstorming. Facilitated group, I think, is pretty straightforward. And again, that risk down there, the biggest one is having an untrained facilitator. You want someone who's done this before and understands how to run a group, how to be impartial and not pick sides, and get everybody involved in the group discussion. All right, let's look at a different technique now and use interviews. So we're going in and we're actually just sitting down, interviewing a number of customers. We can do it one-on-one or in small groups. And again, the idea here is to try to get an understanding of what the business value is. What are you trying to accomplish with this particular project? What are the requirements of this project? Sometimes people can't give you the requirements until they see it. So the ability to prototype, even if it's just on a chalkboard, allows people to start to see what is in the realm of the possible, what they could control in terms of a particular solution. So again, another technique that I've used extensively, very well received. A lot of tools these days allow you to build rapid prototypes and allow people to see it. Now, you've got to be careful here in that the client will see your prototype and say, oh, you're 80% done, you've done the user interface, not realizing there's a tremendous amount of work that has to be done behind the scenes and that you're probably using dummy data to create this. So just be careful on prototyping to set realistic expectations in terms of this is just the interface. There's lots of work that has to be done behind the scenes for this whole project to work and for this whole solution to work. But again, prototyping, great way to gather requirements. And then finally, you can do a requirements workshop where you really bring everybody in, explain in detail what you're trying to do, and then work with them to develop those requirements. So if you've got novice users or clients who have never done this before, requirements workshop is a great way to kick it off. And then you want to augment it with other approaches to make sure that you're just not gathering requirements through one mechanism. All right, well, very good. What we've done during this video, third of 7, looking at scoping of a traditional project, is we provided 2 definitions of requirements, one pretty general, another one based on business value. We've then gone into 4 categories of requirements, and we finished up by looking at 5 different ways to solicit requirements from your customer. All right, well, very good. This brings us to an end. Keep on studying, keep on learning, and I'll see you in the next video.